Hello everybody, welcome along to this video, which is Mr. Johnson teaches JB Priestley the context, using an inspector calls and adding some extra ideas around the writer which might support your work and make your answers even stronger when it comes to doing exams or exam-like questions in class. Be ready to pause this video and make notes. That's really key here. Watching it will help you, but actually having notes that you can refer back to will be even more useful, and it forces you to take on board the information. So do make sure you're pausing and making notes as we go through. JB Priestley and an inspector calls. It comes under your GCSE English Literature. It's paper 2 and it's section A. And therefore it is the second exam that you do for your GCSE English Literature. So let's move on then and have a little look. And a reminder that it's AO3 context we're talking about here. And the first bullet point explains it. It's you showing an understanding of where the play came from and what helped to create it. So yes, the writer wrote it, in this case JB Priestley, but he wrote it while other things were going on in the world. Writers are influenced by what's around them, and that goes for anything that you study for literature. Therefore, what we need to do is try and have a look at what was influencing JB Priestley, and that might make our answers even stronger, because we might be able to link something that happens in the play back to the writer or back to the time that it was written. Second bullet point's really key though. Make sure any context that you include is linked to the play and the exam question. You can't just go dumping bits of information and facts in there if they're not supporting the answer, otherwise the examiners will just ignore them. So you've got to be really clever about this. The context matters, but they're not looking for a history essay, or they're not just looking for you to dump information in. So just be clever and try and link anything you're saying to the play. So let's have a look then. JB Priestley, I hope you're familiar with him by now, but this is a revision video, so I'll go through it anyway. You can see the dates he was alive there, and what that means is his life overlapped the 2 world wars. He lived through both of them. JB Priestley was a playwright, so a writer of plays, also a journalist, so writing for newspapers, sometimes doing longer pieces as well. He was influenced in his early life by his father's socialist friends while he was growing up. If you're unfamiliar with the ideas of socialism and capitalism, which I'll be referring to in this video, check out my other videos because I will be doing a specific video about that. But I'm going to presume you have an idea of what we mean by socialism growing up. And then my third bullet point is really key. He fought in the First World War, where he was gassed, like they had lots of gas attacks. I think you'd probably be familiar with that by now. There were lots of chemical weapons being used. He was badly wounded as well, like really, really strong experiences. If that happened to you, that would stay with you for the rest of your life, like it did for him. And these affected his views and his writing, seeing the suffering of people and also seeing what humans could do to other human beings, the terrible things that were happening in war. And obviously I think after that it's fair to say he wanted to avoid war at any cost. Unfortunately he then had to live through and see it happen repeated in the Second World War. Down below that it says he travelled England in 1933 and he wrote this book which was called English Journey. It captured the experiences of the poor following the Great Depression in 1933, where there was a massive economic crisis. And what it meant was he really did experience life for so many people as he travelled around the country. He went to all sorts of different towns and cities, and he was really focused on the lives of those people. And that, you can see, that's about 12 years before he wrote an Inspector Calls. So again, all things which are adding up, and we can see that he has a real understanding of society, and particularly those who are struggling in society. And hopefully you could see how that links to Eva Smith in Inspector Calls. She embodies that. Then down at the very bottom there, he wrote it in 1945. I think it was first performed in 1946. And really it captures his wish, as I've said there, for a fairer society and a fairer democratic society. So what about his views then? What was he thinking? Well, I think it's fair to say the points on the screen capture it quite well. He wanted to see democratic socialism. So we're not talking about the sort of socialism which was linked to communism, which was happening in Russia at a very similar time. Democratic, so it was voted for and it was fair and it was the voice of the people really. So it wasn't just being imposed on people. That's key. He also wanted to see society supporting its most vulnerable. Link that back to what I just told you about his journeys around the country, and then link that, think about the most vulnerable in society, and then you look at the play and see how the Burlings just don't take any of that social responsibility at all. And that's the key phrase there, really, is social responsibility. And beneath that, my final point there, responsibility for our behaviour, helping others in need. That's the sort of change that he wanted to see. Otherwise, we get stuck in this cycle, like they were with the idea of the wars, really, that we never really changed. Society was stuck in its ways. So why did he write the play then? Now the picture in the background, by the way, is after the Blitz during the Second World War. It's bombing in London where it was hit by the Luftwaffe. And it's quite a famous photo, this one. The milkman just doing his job, keeping calm and carrying on, I suppose you could say. But anyway, that's why that picture was there, so you know. And it almost links to the points on the blue boxes. So on the left there, Priestley lived through 2 world wars. Please don't forget that. And he saw the suffering caused firsthand, particularly during the First World War. But obviously he was living in London. He would have seen images like that. And seen awful sights as well. So that's why partly he wanted to see change and move away. So the play is absolutely about trying to encourage us to change our ways. Beneath that it says both wars saw different classes fighting alongside one another. It was for the First World War really the first time you had different classes, like they were in the trenches fighting alongside, shoulder to shoulder. And also women, there was a change in the roles that women were playing. Because the men had to go away and fight, the women stepped into those roles. And it almost like I said there, it broke down society. It sort of remove some of the barriers of people living in different parts of the towns, living in different types of houses. They were fighting and working together, and he wanted to continue that. On the right hand side, seeing the suffering of some of the working class following the Great Depression, as we mentioned when he wrote that book, that's what he wanted to see change as well, start to remove the inequality in society. He wasn't for communism, where everybody was paid the same, earned the same, but he certainly wanted to see greater socialism and supporting those who had the capability, i.e. the richer, were able to maybe help support the poorer. And Priestley wanted his audience to see a fairer society. 1946 still had the same divisions as 1912. The play is set in 1912, but it's being written and performed in 1946 and onwards, and it's almost showing how we were still trapped. Things hadn't really changed. People like the Burlings still existed. Their opinions and their viewpoints were still around, and he still wanted to see those change. So here are some of his key messages. Now, what you're trying to do when you're writing, and this goes for your Shakespeare and this goes for your 19th century novel, which for many is The Christmas Carol, you're trying to say, what was the writer trying to show us? I always try and use the phrase, what was he trying to teach us? So in this case, these are some of the things that maybe Priestley is trying to teach us, his messages. Firstly, we all need to take responsibility for our own actions. Like the Burlings refuse to take responsibility. Quite famously, Mrs. Burling keeps saying, I can't have any responsibility for what happened to the girl. Beneath that, our actions have consequences for us and those around us, and the Burlings are certainly taught that throughout the play as well. They see what happens to them as well as those that they've impacted on. Beneath that, society needs to look after all its members. The play is certainly a call for socialism, as we've talked about already. Top right, society needs to change, otherwise we'll repeat our mistakes. So you could link that to the war. Burling fairly early on in the play has his speech and says, war, fiddlesticks, the Germans don't want war, is what he says. And then later on that's contrasted and juxtaposed by the inspector's final speech, where he talks about, if we do not learn these lessons, we'll be taught it in fire and blood and anguish. And that was almost a sort of a warning to the audience that we mustn't go through this again. We've been through it twice already. But finally, maybe a more positive message as well. There's hope for the future if the younger generation don't repeat their parents' mistakes, and we see that with Eric and Sheila, how they actually don't follow the same opinions as their parents, are almost horrified by how their parents are just sort of going back to their ways and stuck in that circle of just sort of, well, it was all made up, it doesn't matter now, we can forget all of those mistakes. Whereas the message of the play obviously is very much, let's not forget, let's learn let's learn our lessons. This quote I thought was quite a good one from JB Priestley, and you won't be able to learn all of it, but if you're really pushing for those higher marks, here you have it in his words here. It was a speech during the Second World War, as the date suggests at the bottom. He did a lot of broadcasts on the BBC, sort of trying to be motivational and sort of bring the country together. So pause this screen, read through that, but it's really good at sort of talking about change and moving away from things being about money and property to actually looking after other human beings. And finally, what I'd like to do is pause this and actually check that you're understanding by having a go at those questions. And that will show you how much you've understood of the play. Or sorry, of this video I should say, not of the play. The play will come through your GCSE exams. And I wish you the very best of luck. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. I'm trying to come in at under 10 minutes to make this proper chunked revision. So do check out my other videos on the channel. And if there's ever any requests, then get in touch in the ways that you can. Thanks for watching everybody, and goodbye.